Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Hole Chronicles. I'm your co-host, Sarah Best, and I'm flying solo today because my partner in crime and co-host, John Brower, is out in the field. So it's a pleasure to be with you. We have a special episode today. It's a subject matter episode, but the subject matter, if you will, is a little bit different than what we typically showcase here on the Boss Hole Chronicles. Our guest today, his name is Martin Ramirez. I met him a couple months back. He was part of a leadership cohort that I had the privilege and honor to address. And we chatted after the session and found out some really amazing things about Martin. But he is the author of a book called Whose Fault Is It When You Find Your Purpose? And it's a story about how his son, Mario, became his mentor and showed him some very key and poignant lessons to apply in life. So I think for anybody who's a leader, a developer of other people, anybody who's just searching for their own deeper purpose and meaning, if you're a parent, you're going to find some good in today's session. Martin is actually from a small town in Ohio. He has 3 sons and a wife, Melissa, of 38 years. His youngest son, Mario, happens to be Down syndrome. He was born with special needs. And Martin shares the story in this book of how Mario basically chose him and chose his family. And that Mario, from the minute he arrived, has been a great teacher of happiness and joy, unconditional love. But anyhow, there's some great acronyms. There's some great tips for all of us to take away in today's episode. So we will dive in.
The Boss Hole Chronicles are brought to you by Real Good Ventures, the talent optimization firm helping organizations diagnose their most critical people and execution issues with world-class analytics. Make sure to check out all the resources in the show notes and be sure to follow us and share your feedback. Enjoy today's episode.
Well, Martin Ramirez, welcome to the podcast. It's so good to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let me just share that our listeners are in for a special episode today. I mean, you are a subject matter expert. We have different types of episodes, but you are a subject matter expert on the topic that we're talking about. It's a book you wrote, which is actually a story about you and your family, your life, your beautiful son. The title of your book, Whose Fault Is It When You Find Your Purpose? That just grabbed me immediately. How my son became my mentor. And I want to say that why this episode is important to our listeners, Martin, before you dive in and tell us your story, is that when it comes to being a better person, a better leader, a better influence upon others, being more present and available, being more self-aware, you've lived a story and a life that we should all be aware of and take note of, because there's simple ways for us to incorporate these loving, simple thoughts that you have in relationship to your son. So let me just start by saying, hey, this is a story you know well. It's a story you've told often. It's more than a story. It's your life. Tell us, exactly. Where would you like to jump in, Martin?
I'd like to jump into with a question.
Okay.
I've been asking this question around the area and many times.
Yes.
Would you give up your IQ to be happy?
Would you give up your IQ to be happy?
Right. A CNN report came out from Henry Enton on 2/22, said that America is at its all-time low in happiness. Only 19% of the 3,000 polled said they were happy, and yet 99% of the Down syndrome community is happy. So the IQ is not the key. The emotional intelligence is. So you speak on leadership and you speak on what you were talking about, why a leader would listen to something that maybe my son with an IQ of less than 72 is a complete genius at.
Yes.
It's managing his emotions. We need to learn how to manage our emotions.
Yes.
And so to this end, the book addresses that. What I've seen was he wasn't speaking the lesson. So it was like watching grass grow. I had to catch it. I absolutely had to catch it. So it took me 10 years before I started putting pen to paper and teaching the lessons that I could teach in 10 seconds or less. For example, smile 3 seconds before you shake someone's hand. how could that change your world? How could that change your life? I didn't think it was life-changing until one of my readers came back to me 12 years later and said on the first book that it changed his whole life. And through tears, he explains that he owned a marketing business in Boston and he had 65 employees. After reading the book, which doesn't take long, this book or that book, this book happens to be a revision of the first book, but he read it and he walks into his office and he says he gets out of the elevator and walks right down the aisle of 65 desks. This is, early 2000, mid 2000s, 65 desks. And he noticed everybody turning their head. He caught him looking at him as he was smiling. He says he gets to his office and realized that was a whole different experience than he had the first 17 years of his business, that they were all reacting to him.
Yes.
He was the leader. And he says, Martin, and he continues, we're at a funeral over the summer, just this summer, past summer. And he says, he squeezes my arm. He says, you don't understand what that did. He says, we're having picnics, we're having Christmas parties. I seen patting on the back soon after. And I have to ask myself as he wipes tears away, and now he's got me crying. He says, a smile changed all of that.
Wow.
A smile. So be careful that you overestimate or underestimate a smile.
Absolutely. So that's one huge takeaway. Smile 3 seconds before you shake someone's hand, or just in general. Could we just smile at one another? I love that.
Exactly.
What else do you have for us?
Well, he also, what Mario's taught me, the foundation of the book is called LACE, love, attention, control, and excitement. Now, what I mean by mastering, we are going to get those needs met, healthy or unhealthy, but we will get them met, rest assured. So Mario showed me if he wants love, he'd sit on my lap at a young age and give me butterfly kisses. He got love. If he wanted attention, he'd do a little dance and get attention.
Let me just clarify. Love is the L.
Love is the L.
Attention is the A in LACE.
Yes.
Okay?
Healthy and unhealthy attention. Then control. Mario could go into a forest today. I still believe this at 27 years old and not worry about moving a boulder here, moving a tree over there, cutting down. He just finds it and leaves it the way he finds it. He doesn't need the control we need.
Control is really about recognizing that we probably always strive for it, but we don't really have to have it.
Yeah. And I would say control is the weapon of choice. Control is what you rain down on somebody when you're not happy with them. You try to control their behavior.
Right.
You use guilt. You use a bunch of manipulators. This is foreign to my son. He doesn't want to. You go under the table and you bump your head and come out. Us as parents would ask our other typical 2 older sons, and I've been with my wife 38 years, we would ask those sons, what are you doing on the table? We needed to know so we could control that behavior. Mario just asked, are you okay?
Right. I get the distinction.
Okay?
Well, and so you talk about control as something, that leaders can rain down upon others, and because they're unhappy with other people or they don't like what they're doing.
Exactly.
Would you agree, Martin, that it's oftentimes too the case that they are raining down control because they're unhappy with themselves?
Exactly. And back to what I started out, you're going to get them met healthy or unhealthy. There's probably a part, and Dr. Phil calls it spot it, you got it. If you're talking about people that always want control, there's a good chance you are lacking control and needing control in your life. So you bring that to the workplace. You bring that to your relationships. Yeah. You're struggling with that. So I cringe when I see people put on social media, I can't stand liars. I can't stand cheaters. And it's kind of like I'm thinking, that means you're struggling with both those things.
Yes. We've talked about this in a few other episodes, Martin, where, what bothers you most about somebody else is often that which you are unwilling to notice in yourself. And it's this spiritual axiom that's kind of scary, but true, 100% true. So we have love, attention, control. Tell us what.
And the final one's excitement. Excitement. When's the last time you clapped for yourself? We can name our failures. And I realized Mario was a genius at this. When he did something small, he clapped for himself. He jumped up and down, and we had to smile. He brought excitement to us. He realized that he owns his excitement. Same thing with a supervisor, a boss, a leader. You own your own excitement, good or bad. Yeah. And so we will remember the color of clothes we had on a failure, but we won't make it a memorable emotional. See, emotion is tied to motion. Emotion is tied to motion. So when you clap, I couldn't stand here and clap for 10 seconds and not start smiling. It's almost impossible.
That's
So
so
Mario
true.
gets that. He gets that excitement. So let's say you're upset with somebody. So it's love, attention, control, and excitement.
Yes.
Let's say that lace right there, you're upset at somebody. You're going to choose control as your weapon. You're not going to rain down love on the person you're upset with. You're not going to rain down attention on them. You're not going to rain down excitement. You're going to bring control to the party.
Right.
And so when we master this one, especially that control your mindset, that's what I opened up with. This is why I say he's a different kind of genius, because Robin Williams, unfortunately, Michael Jackson, Prince, a lot of Liz Taylor didn't master this one, happiness. They missed this one. That they're and watch this. I truly believe this is. I was given a book from just recently from Dale Rogers and Roy Rogers. Dale Rogers' wife
Yes.
had a daughter back in late 40s.
Okay.
Robin, and she was born back then. They call it mongoloid, but it was Down syndrome.
Right.
And she only lived 2 years. So the book, a little powerful book, went to #1, 63 pages, and it had the viewpoint of her sitting on God's lap, and she's saying, everybody knows how to be happy. You can't be happy without making someone else happy.
Right.
And I realized it was a reaffirming what I knew about Mario. He was out there making people happy.
Yeah.
So those patterns as a leader, and this is what I tell people, there are no secrets to success. There's patterns to success. And so when I started watching Mario's patterns, he ran a pattern of making a person feel like $1 million, that before they could even walk away from each other, they wanted to do something for him. So I'm not saying go around being fake and give fake compliments. Be genuine. But see, going back to that simple smile, what it does is people want a safe space around you. They don't want to feel judged. They don't feel that from Mario.
Right.
They don't want to feel just inadequate. He's not bringing those to the party. But when you smile, you create a safe space, even if for those 3 seconds, that person wants to jump in that free space.
Oh.
And as a leader, man, if you aren't smiling, you think you're a leader, look behind you. If no one's there, you're just out for a walk.
That's right.
And a lot of people are out for a walk.
Yeah.
Because
Oh my gosh.
they have no followers.
And they don't even recognize it.
No.
What I think is so great about Martin, you sharing your story about Mario and just the lessons he's taught you and how you've embraced those. You know, we have all these different podcasts. I listen to a million different kind of podcasts looking for, the right strategy, the right context, the right framework for solving, how can we be more collaborative? We do talk about really good stuff, probably important stuff, but probably nothing as important and simple as this. It's kind of more about who you're being while you're doing and deploying all that other stuff.
Exactly.
And I just think, so a couple things, you talked about LACE, love, attention, control, and excitement. And for leaders to be able to assess, what frame am I choosing to operate from? It's easy to probably switch to a different frame. Like, what am I giving attention to? Gosh, we could unpack that one for a second. Am I even aware of what I'm giving my attention to? Or am I blindly operating default, being ticked off or frustrated or being high stress? Am I showing a little bit love and compassion? Am I giving people the benefit of the doubt? Am I just taking a moment to join with them where they are? Right. And I love the last one, excitement, show collaboration or show celebration. I wrote down celebrate, like naturally celebrate. You can't help but raise the vibration and raise your own emotional health by doing that. For me, that's kind of like dancing. Like I have a friend who loves to dance. She dances everywhere she goes. And I'm just a little domesticated. I'm a little hesitant to do that. But when I do dance, in fact, people have said to me, stop trying to act like a teenager. I actually love music. I love to move. And when I do that, there is such immediate joy and happiness. It's crazy. So these are simple things. Go ahead. Say that again.
Emotion is tied to motion. Emotion is tied to motion.
Yes.
The reason, but it's also tied to memory. And so the reason, if we bank those good emotional memories, we tend to live a good life.
Yes.
If we blow right by them, we don't know what we were doing 9/10, but everybody knows what they were doing 9/11 because it was an emotional event.
Yes.
So we tied memory to it. I can tell you, as I'm talking, I'm just spinning through Florida. I'm spinning through California. I'm spinning through my backyard. All the times he made it an emotional event and a memorable emotional event just by his joy. And so I tell these folks when we get to purpose, and I wanted to jump in there a minute. I tell these young kids now, we're doing speeches to young 14 and 15-year-old kids. That's where the book's geared toward, to find their gift, make a plan with it to solve a problem in their generation. Because, oh, by the way, money chases solutions.
Right.
But gift for me is the acronym now, genius, I fully trust. We all have a genius in us that we need to fully trust.
Nice.
So I'm telling these kids, look for your gift before you look for a job, until you don't need the job.
Right.
But if you pick up the underlying there, you're going to need your purpose your whole life.
So let me get this straight. In terms of establishing purpose, you use your gift, which is genius, I fully trust. Something we learn and understand. You know, and I don't know that many people spend time thinking about, gosh, what are my true gifts? Like, what is it that I bring that is just a natural part of me? It's a gift. It's something I didn't have to learn how to do. But then you say, focus that gift on a problem.
Yep. Those three things answer the age-old question I think cavemen asked themselves. Why am I here?
Yes.
Who am I? What am I supposed to do? And why am I here? So when you talk a gift, make a plan to solve a problem, you just talked about a fulfilled life. And oh, by the way, you notice I didn't talk about money. Yeah. It's not about money. Yes, money will chase the solution, but it's not about money, because if you make $1 million, you want to make 2. If you make 2, you want to make 4. You want fulfillment. See, this is what I see my son, Mario. He's fulfilled. He loves himself to 100%.
Right.
So he gives love off overflow, never looking at his partner. If and he's got a girlfriend, or he does like the ladies. Mm-hmm. He's got the girlfriend. He's not looking for her to give love to be complete.
I see.
So it's an important message to these young kids, especially a 13, 14-year-old girl whose boyfriend just dumped her.
Right.
If you love yourself to 100 or try to get there as best you can, you don't need that to complete you.
Right.
You've already brought it to the table. And how many adults could live by, and marriages could live by that? See, I brought 50%, you should bring the other 50 to complete me.
Right.
No, you bring the 100% complete. Now you're giving your spouse love off overflow.
Right.
And that's a beautiful place to give it off of, because you can't love something you need. I truly believe that.
Oh,
you can't love anything you need.
Lots of some great takeaways. And you just said a whole lot in there. I think even though the message you're sharing is geared more toward teenagers, I definitely personally can resonate. And I know a lot of people, we could apply these things to our workplace too. I could be 100% responsible for the environment and what I contribute, and not expect someone else to give half. I think that's super powerful. So you do, you're retired. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And we don't necessarily have to get into what you did before this. In fact, probably we won't name companies or anything like that, but you were a leader. You applied these things in your work, and you have some leadership lessons of your own. Would that be true?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. See, when I became the leader, I told the group that I'm going to use the F word more than I ever have in my life. And everybody laughed and chuckled, and I sat at a podium. I meant for family. See, because when it comes down to it, we need a tribe. That's what we were built with. We need a tribe. It took a tribe to take down a dinosaur all the way back in caveman. Right. You didn't have one person taking down a T-Rex or any other food. So when you bring in the family concept, to me, it encompasses a lot of what Mario represents but in leadership. You wouldn't do this to a family member. You wouldn't do that to a family member. It goes on and on and on. Yes. So once I created that culture, I took some of these employees that had trouble showing up for work, but didn't have trouble showing up for our events.
Right.
For 3.5 years, didn't miss one. And we could do 27, 28 in 3.5 years, and they didn't miss one. That's something. So for me, you appeal to their sense of purpose. Because if we don't have and this is what I'm seeing out there with depression and anxiety, is that almost inevitably, it goes back to the book I was telling you about. The little girl said, God, they can't find happiness without making someone else happy. You
Right.
can be content in your house for 30 days by yourself. You can be satisfied, but I will challenge you that you're not happy
Wow.
until you come out of your house and help someone else or help someone from your house. Whether it's on a computer, you coach somebody. There's where happiness lies, right under there, helping someone else be happy. So Mario understood this. And as a leader, you better learn how to make your people serve them, because I talked about our team being servant leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the word servant leader, it literally means you're going to serve somebody, making
Right.
them happy.
Right.
So from that standpoint, if you're leading a group and you don't make yourself human, I had a conversation with a manager, and she struggled, just looked like everything was about the numbers. Everything was about the numbers. Every service talk we had was about whether the numbers were bad or whether they were good, until one day somebody caught something in the process of delivering stuff in this business. There was drugs in the box.
Oh.
So they brought it to her attention, brought it to the inspector's attention, and the drugs were confiscated.
Mm-hmm.
She has the next morning a service talk from her heart for the first time in 2.5 years that I seen her and knew her, that her son was addicted to heroin.
Mm-hmm.
But he started with this gateway, quote, drug is what she called it. And for the first time, we seen emotion. And people that battled her the day before were hugging her on the workroom floor, consoling her, because you could see how powerful and how much it touched her that we got these drugs off the street, and it connected with her personally. Yeah. And I walked right in her office and I said, that's what we need to see from you. We need to see you human. Mm. People don't need to know that you know the numbers. They don't care what you know until they know that you care.
That's right.
People don't care what you know until they know that you care. It was so true for her.
Yes.
And then she quickly went back to the old ways. It was just that moment. I was just like, I was trying to cheer it on.
Right.
But as a leader, take that lesson and know that stories tell, facts sell.
Right.
I'm sorry, backwards, but you get what I'm saying.
We'll say that one more time.
Stories sell, facts tell.
Yes.
So if you want to bring your point home, use and you don't have to always win in your stories. There's a lot of failures that I thought were failures, mm-hmm. but you resonate with people that feel like they're failing.
Right.
There's things I've tried that, yes, I wish I had a list of all that the lessons you learn, but you are not going to connect with these people until you tell a story. We did it all the way back in caveman's around fires, all the way through our generations. Before the internet, it was stories. You know about your family, and guess what? Your story, your personal story, is your authenticity.
It is.
And if you become authentic, like Mario's authentic, and what I'm trying to be is authentic, it gets magical.
Yeah. Well, and I've had the occasion to observe you, in other environments, in groups, and you are absolutely authentic. It's very inviting. It's very attractive, and it's safe. It's just safe when you can be that way. I have two thoughts about what you shared. One is that, as an example, I spent a day online yesterday at a Harvard Business Review, a Future of Business conference. Just a lot of different speakers, globally known CEOs and other people. They were talking about AI and innovation and disruption. But what they talked about, even as much as that, maybe even more, is empathy, vulnerability, being human, the human side of work and leadership in particular in relationship to AI and disruption. And so it is timeless. It doesn't matter
mm-hmm.
what we are faced with or what we hope to accomplish. It would seem that even now there's more emphasis being placed on these simple ideas of happiness and compassion and love, using your gift for purpose. Really powerful. That was the first idea. What was the second thing? The thing you talked about, stories and families. Just this morning, I was talking with a client, and this is often the case where in our work, we're actually kind of playing out a movie that comes from the time when we were small. And as adults, maybe unconsciously in many cases, but we're kind of playing that movie over, hoping to find a different ending, a better resolution. Usually it's a frustration we've had with a parent. Maybe we grew up in a addictive home or an abusive home. But it's so often the case that we are unaware that what we're striving and seeking so hard to build or create is actually old stuff. And by having insight about that, we can remove that. And things like using your gift to solve a problem becomes much more available to us. But we have to first have to recognize that it's happening.
Exactly.
All right, we'll be right back.
With employee disengagement at its highest level in 9 years, your company can't afford to miss the mark when it comes to optimizing your hiring, management, and team performance practices. At its lowest level, employee turnover costs you $11,000 per person, and those are dollars you can easily save with the right set of people analytics. Real Good Ventures is a talent optimization consultancy specializing in world-class analytics specific to your people and the critical role they play within your organization. Gain confidence in your hiring practices, keep the boss holes from driving your talent away, design your teams for flawless execution, and create a culture that offers meaning and fulfillment. Real Good Ventures has a family of validated diagnostic tools specific to the human aspect of business, because we know that all business issues are people issues. Visit us today at www.realgoodventures.com and bring meaning and fulfillment back into your workplace.
Okay, let's get back to the program.
And I resonated with your topic when I met you, because I call it what others struggle with, not you. What others struggle with is what they call death by PowerPoint.
Yes.
I got this phrase. It was so dry I had to watch it in the rain.
Right.
But you attach stories to your presentation. It's okay to use PowerPoint. What I'm telling folks is, as leaders, when you give a service speech or when you give a service talk in the morning, go ahead and give it. Read it off the paper. I don't care. Just put a story in it.
Yeah.
Somewhere
Make it
life,
real.
Make it tangible. Make it touchable. Make it emotion. Because again, you'll never get anybody to move without emotion.
That's right.
And so if you bring the story, it brings the emotion. It brings the. I truly believe many companies are struggling because they lost their emotion. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
At one point, there was things you could think of that everybody rallied around your company. And then you get so caught up in the business of the business that you forget about the emotion, why you started, who started that company,
Right.
what was the emotion because you're going to have a lot of emotion to go through all this to start a company. And what was that emotion that
Right.
you stopped telling them stories? Tell the grind, tell that story when you started, you got rejected by 10 companies or 10 banks wouldn't loan you a penny. Tell that story.
Right.
Because your people want to hear that they're fighting for a reason. They've got a purpose. Back to that. It keeps coming back to purpose.
It does. Purpose. And I think at the very beginning, you first talked about happiness and how we are a largely unhappy population of people.
Right.
I know that we keep trying to find the right formula, the right answer. You also talked about managing emotions. And interestingly, this Harvard Business Review all-day seminar on the future of business also featured Daniel Goleman, who is, a 30-year guru on emotional intelligence, who was so great. He acknowledged all the other contributors. People could look at the subject of emotional intelligence and say, well, Daniel Goleman wrote that book in 95. Actually, a guy named John Mayer and Peter Salovey, they actually wrote an article that inspired him. They wrote an article 5 years before that, but this guy was humble. He was talking about the power of emotion. And I think as a great underpinning to all that you're talking about today, we can use the power of emotion in a good direction. And leaders have to be aware of, they have to use the emotional data that emotions happen all day long. Are we in tune with them? Are we leveraging the positive ones? How about those motivations that got us to where we are today? So powerful. So
it drove Dr. Martin Luther King before the internet to put close to 1 million people in Washington, D.C.
Right.
How did that happen? It had to be an emotion. Those folks didn't come for him.
Right.
They came because he resonated something inside them.
Mm-hmm.
They felt what he felt when he gave the I have a dream speech. It touched it played the chords in the heart. He didn't give numbers and statistics on how they were downtrodden. They didn't tell you how many years it had. He just played the heart.
Yeah.
And those people showed up. And that's going to be in your room too.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people wanted to engage you perhaps as a speaker, tell our listeners a little bit about you and Mario. You hit the road sometimes. And
Yes, we
also,
do.
yeah, tell us about that and what's up next for you.
That's what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and on a tour for the book.
Okay.
We're hitting 14 and 15-year-old kids, but knowing that their parents are in the room too many times.
Yes.
And they need to hear this too, because so many people don't realize that your fulfillment is tied to your gift.
Mm-hmm.
Your purpose is tied to your gift.
Yes.
So we're going around Dad-Wisdom's the website that people can contact us.
Good.
Dad-Wisdom.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah. So
Wisdom.
this is how you get us to come to your location. We speak. We're doing some. What I do is we put Mario up front, and it's easy to see his gift. It's love. It's unconditional love. It's just acceptance. It's just so obvious.
Your joy. Yeah.
Yes. So not everybody's gift is that obvious. So like a 4-year-old playing Mozart in Russia, Prodigy, that's obvious. But then I flip the script while I'm up there on stage and say, what's your gift? Let's start looking for yours.
Mm-hmm.
It's something and I need you to get 5 Fs. And usually I'm standing in a school and an F was a bad thing to get.
Right.
But in this emotional intelligence, it's so different. I want you to get 5 Fs. Here's it goes. Something you do fast, something you have fun, time flies, you've done it for free, and you're fantastic at it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Those are the starting points a 14-year-old could listen to. It's also something that your friends go around other friends to come to you for.
Mm-hmm.
Hint, clue. They're about ready to tell you what your gift is without telling you.
Right.
You might be a kid that works on motors and it's just constant. Not every gift. I'm not talking gifts got to make you a millionaire. Right. I'm talking about gifts that fulfill you.
Yes.
Well, you wrench in your dad's garage at 10 years old, 12 years old. You're interested in tools. That's probably your gift. Mm-hmm. And your friends come to you, hey, man, I got this noise in my car. You might be 14, he might be 19, but he still comes to you asking you about it. It's your gift.
I love this. What
I don't like seeing is people that are bakers and they end up at an automotive job for 30, 40 years of their best life. And all they want to do is get home and bake.
Right.
Well, I'm saying to these kids, look for your gift before you look for a job, because at least with your gift and knowing it by say 19, 20, an ideal puts you in the environment for your seed to grow, because you could take a mango seed and put it on a ceramic tile for 3 years and nothing happens.
Right.
But you put it in the right soil, in the right environment, and it grows to 30, 40 feet in 2 years.
Wow. I'll take that. So much in here, Martin. Happiness, managing emotions, the LACE acronym, love, attention, control, and excitement. I love this. Emotion is tied to motion and meaning. Yes. How about patterns to success?
Yes.
That what we do creates patterns. We just have to look for the patterns. Recipe for happiness, and a recipe for purpose. Find your gift, focus that gift on a problem or on solving a problem. The gift is genius. I fully trust. Yeah. And then the last nuggets you shared here, the 5 Fs, and any adult should be tuning into this. Fast, fun, time flies. It's free. It's fantastic. This is how when you're involved in activity, this is how you know it's your gift. If those 5 Fs apply.
It comes up in almost all your conversations. You bring it up. Over the weekend, I was at a hockey game. And no sooner that I started talking to somebody, it came up again. What I'm doing, teaching young kids to not chase success. If you want to be successful, don't focus on success. Right. Focus on becoming more valuable, because that's where success looks for its clients. Where you're more valuable, increase your value, and your success will chase you. That's right. Money will chase you. You don't have to. You can be like everybody else and go chase the dollar. Go ahead, but become valuable and watch that money chase you. Awesome. It will.
So, I believe that.
And one last thing I want to make sure I get in there, because I always do. I think it's funny that we call them special needs because it's their special we need. Unconditional love.
That was so good. I want you to say that again. You're talking about your son, Mario.
Yes. I'll go back
who has Down syndrome. Yes. Say that again.
It's funny that we call them special needs because it's their special we need.
I did underline that sentence in the book, actually. Yeah. And the fact that he is a yellow flower in a sea of blue flowers. He's like the sunshine. Oh, well, this has been so wonderful, Martin. Thank you for giving us your time. It's also in the foreword to your book, A Woman Writes How There Are No Accidents. And I agree. There are no accidents. Yes. You happened to be attending a presentation I gave not too long ago, and we chatted afterwards, and it was magic. And it's so great to have you here on the podcast. I think all these tips, easy acronyms will help our leaders.
I believe that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on this mission. But it's fulfilling to know that what we're doing isn't chasing money. It isn't. It's chasing those eyes in the audience that go this big, or watching these kids get emotional. That 7 of them came up to me after the last speech and were crying, saying they needed to hear this today. Because one of the last things I want to leave you with for sure is that these kids are hurting out there and not knowing where they belong. Yeah. They know what they don't want. They don't know what they want. They don't want that old business model that puts them 30, 40 years and they watch their parents be upset and not happy. Yes. Why do I want to go do that?
Correct.
But they need to know that they beat 400 million sperm to be here. Mm-hmm. So you lined up on the New York City Marathon line and you beat 400 million. You won the race. You should walk around with a medal this big on your chest. And I in the speech, I pounded my chest and I just watched the tears flow. Aww. Because nobody's told them that they were meant to be here. They're meant to do something. Right. And so if I could start that conversation from their parents to them, it'll get even more magical, and they can go from tragic to magic. Finding their purpose can take them from tragic to magic.
That's beautiful. I think parents who listen, leaders who have families and even direct reports, these tools, these acronyms, these guides that you provide here can be just as helpful. When we're trying to coach or help somebody else, we can use this.
Exactly. Because you do that to your team. You find your team's purpose of somebody that is struggling at one job, you put them in another job, and all of a sudden they're showing up to work. That's what I shared with the supervisor, that young lady I was telling you, that she couldn't show up to save her life to work, especially during the pandemic.
Right.
And yet she didn't miss. How are you doing it, Martin? Her supervisor asked, what are you telling her? I said, first, find her gift. Ask her to say, what are you good at? What do you like doing? And then coach that.
Right.
And why it showed up. Because when she came to us, her gift was in secretarial work. And she can put on a party like nobody's business. And guess what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I don't have to do the party.
That's right.
I'm clapping for her. Look at you. I put her up, but I put her up front and thanked her in front of her peers. Mm-hmm. And it just, the level of her confidence went from here to here. And who wouldn't want to show up to that job where people clap at you? Who wouldn't want to do it?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, you're talking about job fit. We could put that in the terms of the forces of disengagement, which our listeners probably have heard a million times already. Job fit, manager fit, team fit, and culture fit. But job fit is the first and most significant force of disengagement. If I'm not able to draw from my natural drives and gifts and talents and do what I'm naturally wired to do well, I'm going to fail. I might not fail. I might have to work really hard and do it correctly, but I'm going to suffer. And I'm not going to be happy, and it's going to affect my health. Yeah.
And the enemy of great is good. Mm-hmm. See, we get good at a lot of things, and we stay right there. We don't go for great. Right. Because Martin, you're a good worker. Martin, you're a good guy. Martin, what am I great at? And that's what I want these leaders to start looking at their employees and say, what are you great at? It might take them back the first time you say that to your fellow coworker or even a subordinate. Mm-hmm. But you let them know right now you're looking for their greatness. And that's the first time probably in their life anybody has. Yeah. We need to start looking for their greatness.
We do, and we can. Martin, I want to thank you for spending time with us today on the Boss Hole Chronicles podcast. And we'll look for any information about where you're headed. We'll make sure we post not only a link to your site where people can book you as a speaker and your son, Mario, but also where people can buy the book. Whose fault is it? When you find your purpose, Yeah, and just keep up the amazing work. You
Thank
spread
you.
sunshine
Thank you.
everywhere you go.
Thank you. That's Mario, my sunshine. Thank you. I
You're
thank you for
most
the
welcome.
opportunity, and thank you. Do keep doing what you're doing. You're helping too. I knew right when I watched your presentation, and it wasn't dry,
Yeah,
that I had
that's
to
right.
watch it in the rain. That the
Good.
stories resonated with me, and keep bringing those stories, because I know that's where the seeds. That's the water the seeds need. I call it
That's right.
watering the roots. Let's water
Yes.
the roots.
Yeah. We need
Let's
people
water
to be
those
more
roots.
fulfilled and happy in their work. All right.
Yes.
Well, hey, we will
Thank
see
you.
you next time on the Boss Hole Chronicles.
We'd like to thank our guests today on the Boss Hole Chronicles. And if you have a Boss Hole Chronicles story of your own, please email us at mystory@thebossholechronicles.com. Once again, mystory@thebossholechronicles.com. We'll see you again soon.